Speaking Truth podcast. I'm Kyle Buckhover,
And I'm Geoff Davidian.
and today we have another riveting episode, and we are going to discuss how much is enough. And we're going to talk a little bit about, we live in a capitalist society that encourages us to get as much as we can, to have the biggest house and the nicest things, and that's represents what status you have and how much success you've had because you have all of these great things, and you keep trying to level up and get more, accumulate more wealth and more things and more stuff, and it becomes it almost starts to own you, wouldn't you say, Geoff? Or
I say that we're manipulated to buy stuff through design, new design. The classic example is when the vacuum cleaner stopped selling, they just put a new design on the old body, same vacuum inside, the same motor, same pump, and people bought another one. There was no difference. They didn't need it. It's just that they were manipulated to want more. So I'd say that at a time when there are limited resources, when the environment is polluted, when there's wealth disparity, can we arrive at a concept of what's enough? What is it that we need, and how do we get to that, to get to understand what we need, not just because we don't want to just be guinea pigs on the treadmill anymore, but because we deprive other people of stuff when we have it. There's only so much stuff, and the damage that we do to get more, we're at the point now, if we haven't already passed it, where we can't get it back.
what do you suppose drives that need or artificial need to want more stuff?
Creativity, maybe part of it. New technology lets you do more. You want to get new software to let you do better stuff. Makes your life easier. There's some utility to it. But as we found out with this canvassing software, your technology can just make you have to work harder and then fail you. So at some point, the labor that you save through things that you think you need is not saved at all. You pay the money for the thing that you thought you needed, and then you find out it costs you more.
And I was thinking about, before we started this podcast, I was thinking about the film What Were the Gods Thinking, where there's this hunter-gatherer tribe in Africa somewhere that lives sustainably on their own in a pretty everything, they had what they needed. They were happy doing their own thing. All of a sudden this Coke bottle drops from the sky from this airplane, and all of a sudden whoever had this Coke bottle had the power. They used the Coke bottle for a number of different tools, and it helped them do things a little bit more efficiently, as far as a number of different things with agriculture, or just using it to pound something in, or using it to, I can't remember all the things they used it for.
It was an empty bottle.
It was an empty Coke bottle, and it became this tool, and whoever had the tool had the power. And so someone had this thing, other people got jealous and they wanted it.
They
fought over this thing, and everything was fine before this thing was introduced into their lives. And I think about that as an allegory to humankind. There's in the Bible they talk about the fall of man, or they talk about the Garden of Eden, and talking to the snake, and then once you talk to the snake, you got the knowledge, the forbidden knowledge, or you eat the apple, or whatever it was. The snake told me to eat the apple, right? And then you eat the apple, and now all of a sudden you did what God told you not to do, and now I feel like that there's something to that. Like, once you start to dig into or you start to, I think that's part of the fall, right? Is now we think that we can make all these things that are going to make our lives easier, but in the end, we have this power structure of who's got the most stuff, and I want to get the most stuff because I want to be on the top of the hill.
Well, we can look at people who have a lot of stuff and let's begin to ridicule them, okay? You've got a guy, let's just talk about guys. It's not a gender. We're not saying that guys are more susceptible to not recognizing enough. But I saw somebody that I know the other day in the afternoon he retired, wearing starched shirt, slacks that were right out of the dry cleaner, a fancy sport coat, nice shoes, a fancy car. He's come to having coffee with me. And I thought, what does it take? What is going on in this fellow's mind that he would present himself to me, that went in shorts and a t-shirt, that he would present himself like this? What goes on in his mind? Or you look at someone who has, when people used to put, when they had their hair cut, they would put a slice in the short hair, and it's the style. They'll pay extra for something that means nothing. Or like somebody who has venereal warts on their face, and they get nail painting, as though the nail painting is going to make any difference in the person's life. And then they'll go out, and with that little money they have, they'll get nail art. And we have to think, what is it that we value? And why do we value it? What do we think we're saying about ourselves when we do stuff that when other people look at it, it is so stupid? And yet we forego other stuff. You go to the bank and the person has got these, at the teller, has got these fingernails that are about 2 inches long and curved. How can they type? Well, and why would they think that was a good look for working at the bank? So we are driven to buy stuff that is fashionable, but really stupidly fashionable.
What would be smartly fashionable? Like, is there something that, is there something...
There's appropriate.
There's appropriate. Is there... what I like to think about is when I decide what to wear, first it's comfort, second is what expresses me, who am I, and those are the two things that I think about when I'm wearing, and appropriate, of course.
Okay.
But
if you look at, let's think about how we're going to get to it. If we talk about a building and architecture, it's space and utility, function. How do we make a place that does what you want it to do, and enforces your desire to have it done there? What do you want to do when you get dressed? You don't want to bring something bad upon yourself by not being appropriately dressed, but you don't want to necessarily be the best dressed. That would be vain. Want to be the best dressed.
Well, it depends what your goal is. If you're going for a job interview, you probably want to be the best dressed in the interview.
You think so? You think that's what's going to matter? That would be something to look at.
It depends.
Whether you dress you want to dress better than everybody else because you think you will get a job. I'd say that's something wrong with the process.
Yeah, well, it depends on the job too, right?
Unless it's to work at Brooks Brothers. Something like that. In which case it would be appropriate.
It's appropriate. Right,
yeah.
Yeah.
So, some people, like I am one of them, I got more clothes than I'll ever wear. And I have some nice clothes.
Do you have enough clothes?
I have more than enough.
Do you have more than enough clothes?
I have more than enough clothes.
How many clothes would be enough?
Enough clothes would be one of everything to be appropriate. Whatever it is. But if I know that I have more than enough, should I get rid of it? Let's say that I can't tell what enough is ahead of time, but once I realize I have more than enough, what's my obligation if other people don't have enough? Do I have an obligation, a moral obligation, to disencumber myself of the excess because I'm just depriving other people of stuff, and then I'm driving the prices up for other people who need stuff because there's a shortage.
So, I guess
This is-
we can look at this a number of different ways, right? Well, what kind of moral system are we talking about? Are we talking about utilitarianism? Are we talking about, deontological?
Let's talk about let's just talk
ethics?
about the health of the earth. That is, if I have more than I need, and I cause land to be used to grow cotton instead of food, am I having an effect on other people's lives beyond the fashion and the appropriateness?
Well, even beyond that, you take a look at, well, then those clothes got to be woven into, or the cotton's got to be woven into clothes, and then it's got to be transported. Think about all the transportation of these goods that are
fuel, carbon footprint.
It's all.
But then it makes jobs. Ultimately, people with money need to have a return on their money. And people with a lot of money don't just want to sit there. They are compelled to have more because they don't have enough. Or maybe they have a job where their job is to create wealth for other people who entrust their money with them, an advisor, a financial advisor, or an investment counselor. So that person is driven to make a profit, and they make a profit by creating something and then making a profit from it, like a new product or creating a fashion idea or inventing something. So there's a drive. The drive starts at the top to have more money.
Well, I would even say, but take a look at it this way. You also have companies that have to make money. They have a legal obligation and might make the most for their shareholders, right? So you take a look at, maybe the companies are like, hey, maybe we should reduce our footprint. And they say, well, let's say the CEO says that. Say, hey, let's reduce our footprint this year because, we...
That's not why a company exists, is
Exactly. So, the thing is the company needs to make money for its stockholders. And
That's why it
it's not
exists.
making money for its stockholders. That CEO is out by lunch. They got a new guy in there, right? So,
So capitalism has built-in drives that we are manipulated to want the sliced haircut or the several jackets.
It doesn't have to.
I don't know, does it?
Capitalism as it exists today is that way, right? So, you have to, there's a legal obligation to make sure that you have the biggest profit for your shareholders if you're set up as a corporation. Now, there's these new things.
I don't know if that's true.
That is true. Ben and Jerry's got sued because they wanted to go and do good things. And this is back in the late 70s. I can't remember that.
Depends on how the document is set up. The
Right. So
corporation,
if you're set up as a corporation, you can be set up as
a not-for-profit corporation.
a non-for-profit, or there are for-profit corporations that say, yeah, we have to make money, but we also have to abide by this mission, or we have to do these things.
So is
C Corp, or no, not C Corp. I forget what it's called. But anyways, they're different in different states. It's a public benefit corporation.
If we were able to recognize what enough is, could we change the economic system if we simply don't buy into it? If we live as humans on the earth, like a lot of people will join a commune, or they'll want to be off the grid, or they want to be self-sufficient, or they'll somehow not be part of this. They don't want more than enough. They just want enough. And is it possible to arrive at, let's say if you want to work a certain length of time to make sure that you have enough for yourself and then retire, does retirement have built into it the need for more than enough? Let's see, I've got to travel, I've got to have good clothes, I want to have a new car every few years. Does the drive of capitalism get into our retirement planning, and we have all of these people that are working longer than they have to consume more and to use more because they think they're going to be driven to consume more in the future.
And also think about the retirement planning. I mean, this is stocks. These are people want a return on their investment, so they put all this money in this
they have
401k.
to, yeah.
And then the people that are, you know, you look at your financial planners and investors, they're picking the stocks that are going to have the most return. So then those companies are like, we got to have the most return. So it's kind of this monster that's feeding itself because we want to have so-called enough. But if you're talking about retirement, I want to have enough for retirement. Because
and enough is different for everybody. So if we were going to cut it down to the essentials, it would be enough calories for a day based on, let's say, some mathematical formula based on how long your parents lived and your siblings lived, and you can estimate how long you might live. And so you want to have enough money for protein and medicine for that period.
Well, and an interesting point on that, they've found that there's a number of studies that they've done on lifespan, and the number one thing that can consistently improve your lifespan is limiting the number of calories that you eat. So not eating a lot of calories. I don't know exactly what that number is. So if you want to have enough to live a longer life, you actually need less calories, because you're putting all this extra work on your organs and your body and stuff by eating more. So eating just enough, or enough to keep you alive, keeps you alive longer.
And there's no planning of the earth based on the and we talked about this before, Kyle, about what the land can sustain and whether the needs of people for those essentials, for the grain and for the vegetables that they need, is being used appropriately, as opposed to taking the land to build flat screen TVs and utilizing water to cool it. There does not seem to be an effort on the part of planners or government, or there may be some nonprofits who do, but to try to come to grips with that sustainability issue, and then let us come to enough based on what the earth can hold, what it can sustain based on how many of us there are. We don't have any limit on anything except greed. There's greed, there's gluttony, there's all the biblical sins are characteristics that we embrace in capitalism. But to some extent, they drive it. I don't know how we got to be capitalists, but funny in a Christian country that we would embrace the sins. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about that, and again, it comes back to, where do these sins come from? To me, it seems to be a source of power.
We want to be able to sin. The more money you have, the more sinning you can do. I mean, let's face it, sins are attractive. You want to kill your enemy, you want your neighbor's wife, you want to eat as much as you want. I mean, those are all human drives.
But they're all power-based. I think it's power.
Well, you have to, if you gave everybody the same amount of money, different people would violate different sins based on their personality. Some people are driven by sex, some by greed, and some by power. Power itself is a driver.
But I think all of those things go back to power. They're a different form of power.
They're manifestations of power.
Yeah.
Or abuses of power. So, if we started in school, let's say schools with uniforms. I'm just trying to come to a fictitious world that we haven't thought about before. If we took away individuality, that would do away with the style and fashion stuff, but it would diminish our quality of life. What we think now is our quality of life would be what color. I don't have anything orange. I need something orange. When in the old Soviet Union, man, if you had gray, you were lucky. If everything was gray, if it kept you warm, that's all you needed. You didn't think about, that was enough. And capitalism makes enough more, raises the bar and what's more.
Yeah, or you take a look at
What's enough?
North Korea, for example. They don't have enough. There's a lot of people that are starving because the government controls the means of production.
Sure, and did they build nuclear weapons because they think that they need to survive, and how are they going to do it if they have to get respect by being able to destroy the world? That's how they'll do it. It is power. There you go again. It's power.
Yeah, I mean, the United States has the most nuclear weapons.
And we have the most waste and the least sense of enough.
We have 5% of the population. We produce 25% of the garbage.
Adbusters magazine had an article, or had a phony ad about something that you can buy that was ready to throw away right away. You didn't have to open it. You don't have to do anything. You just discard it immediately. You don't have to unwrap it. It doesn't need cooking. You just take it out of the bag and throw it in the garbage, and that made it very easy.
Now, hunter-gatherer societies, they don't have this concept of, their concept of enough is, am I sustained? Do I have enough food to eat? Do I have a place to sleep?
And how far ahead you plan affects enough. If you don't have enough...
That's kind of what happened with once we stopped being hunter-gatherer societies. Now we're agriculture societies, and we start growing all of our food, and we start saving some of that food. Now we got to have guards that save that food because we don't want people eating our food that we made. Now we got to have more people to guard them. We got to have people. Now we have more food.
What's the cost?
Now we have more people because we have enough people to feed. Now there's more people. Now we have to have more people to work the land because we got to have more food, and it's the kind of.
And then we have more people living in smaller and smaller spaces without enough housing, because there are so many people living that they're homeless. Just the cost of living somewhere is too great because they've overpopulated.
The people that have been over generations that have been really good at hoarding and guarding the stuff, the food that turns into stuff that turns into, then it's gold, now it's a bunch of numbers in a bank account somewhere. Whoever's got enough of those, they live very well, but it's a few and far between people, right?
And it's attractive. If somebody who is greedy and gluttonous and covets stuff is attractive. The fast car, the clothes they don't need, money to throw around, that's attractive. And somebody who lives within their means is not as attractive to in Hollywood terms, or in it used to be in the 60s it didn't matter, everybody was the same. It's not like that anymore.
Yeah, and a lot of times I think humans want what they can't have, or they want something that they see to someone else having.
Or they create, or the people with the money create something to make you want it,
Right.
because it says something. If you look at fashions, if you look at the way you look back in old photographs, and what you thought was cool, and you look at it and you say, why did I ever like that? Or some hairdo. I look at myself, how did I ever have a haircut like that? Because we're sold on something that is fleeting and is insignificant. So, can we arrive at enough? And is enough, is the desire to know what enough is a powerful, or can it be a powerful enough force that we politically demand it?
Oh, shit.
The sun was going.
It's not recording.
Mine is.
Yeah. Alright, well, we'll use yours then. So, so we weren't recording for the last little bit here, and this one's, hello. I don't know. Anyway,
So you can put it down if it's not
I
recording.
guess. Well, it's recording now, but it's just,
So anyway, is there a political, even if you look at Mike McCabe's platform, if you will, whatever it was, his campaign, jobs for everyone, If you have a job, you should have enough to be middle class. Well, what is middle class? Middle class is more than enough.
Yeah,
Isn't it?
I mean, I think enough. I think you go back to those hunter-gatherer societies. I mean, they lived.
Well, so
Or they still
politics,
do.
politics has as its goal to make you think that you can have more than enough.
I wouldn't say the politics. I think the goal is.
People won't say, if you vote for me, you will have enough.
That's part of it, but I think overall, politics is about organizing the society in a certain way.
And the priorities of the society. When we talk about getting jobs, everybody have a job, what are we saying? That the people with all the money that need to create new stuff need workers. And they make it sound like they're giving you something, but what they're trying to do is give you to them
Yeah.
to do the work.
Yeah, I mean, it's
And
kind of a modern day slavery kind of
Yes,
thing.
it is. It's just that they don't beat you.
Right. They give you a little bit of money, enough
Yeah,
to make
a
it
little
so.
more than enough.
Yeah. You ever hear the George Carlin joke where he's like, the middle class people, they want to make sure that they get paid just enough so that they feel like they can become the rich people, but also they're scared that they don't want to become. I forget how the joke goes, but
And you
it's
don't.
like they're scared to become the poor people, so they're in this middle class where they're comfortable enough to have enough.
Enough to keep you from rioting against the
right.
machine.